Hi everyone, it's Janet here and welcome back to another speed build. So today the speed build I have for you is a home for a single mum and her toddler. So when I was thinking about this build, I once again got really sad about the fact that we don't have like terraced houses in The Sims. So as I'm building this house, you'll notice, especially if you're from England and if you've ever been a university student and then kind of moved out and rented a house, you'll probably recognise the layout of this house. So this is based on my house, to put it bluntly, in terms of a pretty standard kind of two-bed terraced house in England. They're particularly common in like slightly smaller cities, I think. In the really big cities, you're more likely to be in a flat. You probably, most people aren't going to be able to afford a terraced house like this. But in some smaller cities, these terraced houses are really, really common. And they all basically have the exact same format. You have the porch, which you can see me having built on the front there. And then you come through into the first room, which in most houses is a lounge, but in some student houses they make it a third bedroom. Then you go through to kind of a dining room, extra room, and then out the back you have the kitchen that leads on into the bathroom. So you can see at the moment that I've put those two back rooms kind of parallel to each other. I do change that a little bit later on. I mess around with the floor plan a little bit more and it does become that kitchen into the bathroom. And then upstairs you basically just have your two bedrooms on either side of the stairs, and then an additional small room at the back. So when I was looking at houses years ago, in some of those houses that bedroom in the back is a office space. You could also maybe have it as a nursery, but what they've done in my house and what I do in this house that I'm building now is put it as an ensuite bedroom, ensuite bathroom even, off the main bedroom. So that's kind of the basic floor plan. The shape, without being in a row of houses, the shape does look kind of weird, which is why I'm so sad that we don't have terraced houses. I was thinking of maybe on a bigger plot, kind of building fake terraced houses. So basically I was kind of thinking that with the sort of locking the door system that we now have, you could potentially put like 3 small families on one lot. And in cast you could probably put them as like roommates, but then sort of give them their own house. I'm not quite sure how it would work, but I think I might give it a go. Because yeah, this house without that is just like really weird and long and thin, which it is in real life. Like that is kind of what it's like. These houses are literally like 1 room wide, but without those other houses around it, it kind of looks a little bit strange. But I'll see how I feel. I think I might give it a go, making, yeah, kind of maybe 3 houses in a row on like a 50 by 50 lot or something. We'll see what happens. But as you can see at the moment, I've put down just sort of the first bits of furniture in the lounge. So as I mentioned right at the beginning, this is a single mum and toddler that live here. So I was imagining, again, we don't have like rented accommodation so much in The Sims. I know with some of the expansion packs where you do have the apartments, I think there's a rented feature. I don't have that. Is it city living? I think I don't have city living. So you can't really have a rented feature. So what I imagine is you pretend, basically. So the house comes in a little bit more pricey. It's not quite a starter home at the end, but I figured you could kind of just pretend that it's a rental property, which is why I do clutter it up a little bit, but the decoration is fairly basic. And that's because I figured with the story for this family, it's just a mum and toddler on their own. And I imagine that she probably doesn't have a lot of money to be spending loads and loads on decoration, and also because it is a rental, when I get to putting the wallpaper up, you'll see it's that lovely, not quite white wallpaper the whole way through, or it might be paint actually. the whole way through, which if you've ever lived in rental accommodation, you will know is basically what is everywhere. Every single wall in my house is white or like off-white magnolia, which is a little bit boring, but is the reality of rental properties quite often. There's a bit more stuff in the toddler room, which you'll see a little bit later on. And I basically figure that every spare bit of money that she does have goes on things for her kid. So her bedroom's like fairly minimal, the rest of the decoration's fairly minimal, but then her toddler does have a few more bits and pieces to play with, which I thought was quite a nice idea. So this here is her bedroom that I'm decorating at the moment. You'll see that I jump around so much when I'm decorating this property, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know why I've been doing that recently. Usually when I build, I kind of do it room by room, and I never really jump around like this. I think it's like the pressure of knowing that I'm filming it makes me kind of freak out a little bit. And I've also been finding it useful to put like placement furniture or like holding furniture in rooms, just so I kind of know what that room is going to be. Helps me kind of visualise it a little bit more. Yeah, going forward, I think I might try and be slightly more organised with my decorating, just so I'm not jumping around quite so much. I don't know, let me know what you think. Is it really distracting, me jumping around so much? Or does having the kind of holder furniture, just sort of knowing what's going on layout wise, does that kind of make sense to you? I don't know, let me know what you think. But yeah, as you can see, the bedroom is pretty standard, again, based on my own bedroom, quite heavily. So she's just got a desk, a couple of dressers, or like side cabinets, and the wardrobe. And then this much bigger room actually is the toddler room. And that actually, I think, is quite often how it goes in these houses. The front room, which is like the room, the roadside bedroom, is a bit bigger because it doesn't have that smaller space kind of off the back. But I figured, you know, kids have a lot of stuff. Her room's quite minimal, so she doesn't really need a massive room, and the ensuite bathroom is kind of more what she needs. I did originally think about having a fireplace in here, just because I thought it was nice and cozy. Again, more to do with what's actually based in my house. There's like a fake fireplace in that bedroom, but in reality, having a fireplace in a toddler's room is an absolute nightmare, and you would never want to do it in real life. So I quickly took that out. Here you can see me realising that the upstairs is kind of overhanging the downstairs. So right at the beginning, I made it a little bit smaller in the lounge, or in the build generally. And that is something I do quite a lot. I always make the builds too big. I know if you watch Lil Simsy, who I love, she's always talking about like EA making the builds too big, and how much harder it is to decorate like a big home, which it totally is, and I'm definitely guilty of it. So I did kind of shrink this down a little bit, just so it's not so massive, and then yeah, realised that the upstairs was completely overhanging the downstairs. But here you can see me just messing with the roof a little bit over that downstairs bathroom. I don't know why I was even trying to use this piece. I never really used that piece, but I settled on just the slanty one. I can't remember what its name is, angled roof piece or whatever it is. Settled just for that one. And then I head back all over the place apparently, but head back into the toddler room to carry on decorating that. Yeah, so I wanted to put some kind of seating area in this room. I think that's something that's always really nice when you look at kind of like baby rooms or nurseries or whatever on Pinterest or Google when you're looking for inspiration. Having seats and things is always so lovely. And it's something that looks so nice in Sims builds, but like in reality, I can't imagine ever having like an actual sofa or like a comfy chair in a bedroom. It would be amazing. I would love to do it, but I just can't imagine it. It would be quite strange, I think, because I don't particularly like TVs in bedrooms. I mentioned this in my previous tiny home speed build. If I had a TV in a bedroom, like I would never go to sleep. It would just be a nightmare. So yeah, I've never had a TV in a bedroom before. I always wanted one as a kid, and my parents always said no, which I think was probably a good choice on their behalf. But you probably just saw a moment ago, I kind of shifted the whole build over to the left slightly. And that's because when I edited the floor plan so that the kitchen leads onto the bathroom downstairs, it meant that there's not really that much garden space directly at the back of the house. So in these terraced houses, usually the garden is very small and it's kind of right at the back of the house. So it's all just like one long straight line. But that didn't quite fit on this build. This lot is a 20 by 30 lot, I believe, which is obviously one of the smaller ones. I didn't want to go for a bigger lot because there would be so much space kind of at the side of the house. But it does mean that there's not really any garden directly at the back. So I moved it all over slightly, so at the end I can put more of a side garden in. And it is bigger than you'd usually have in a house like this. But I figured, you know what, they've got the space. It's nice to have like a garden for kids to run around in. So you'll see me building that or landscaping that a little bit later on. So here I'm just sort of putting the decorations in the little porch. This porch is actually like twice as big as my porch is. It's basically like you just walk in and that is the space, like the room for like, you can just about fit 2 people in it, but you have to like do an awkward shuffle around to like close the door behind you and then open the inside door. So I did make this just a little bit bigger so I could actually put some stuff in it and have it a bit more, not functional, but a bit more like actually decorated rather than just a box. So as you can see, I've got a couple of shoe racks in there, the coat rack, and then the wall coat rack as well, and the umbrella stand, which I never use. I never use the umbrella stand, and then my Sims go out in the rain and then immediately start complaining that they're wet, and I never ever give them an umbrella. So I figured I would finally actually give them an umbrella so they can stop complaining at me when they go outside. So that's kind of what's in the little porch, so not actually that much functional stuff, but I think it's still really nice. It's a really nice touch, I think, makes it a bit more realistic. Because I think most houses, in England at least, I don't know about America and other countries, but most houses do kind of have some sort of porch. So it's nice to include that. Right here you can see me using the red shelf, or the OMSP shelf, I think is its official name. This is actually the first time I've used it, and I try to use it quite a lot in this build, but actually you'll see later on there's a few cuts and things where I've cut things out because I think I need to practice more. I need to use it a little bit more and get a bit more used to it. It's okay here, but later you'll see in the kitchen, because the kitchen is so narrow, cluttering up the shelves and cluttering up the cabinets and the workspaces and things is really hard anyway, because it's so narrow, and because to get the Alt key kind of not on the grid moving thing working, you need to have your mouse quite far down, but because it's so narrow in there, the mouse always ends up kind of touching one of the other cabinets, which then means it sort of jumps back onto snapping. You'll probably see what I mean in a little while. I did cut quite a lot of it out, so you'll see there are a few fades between clips later on, because it was just so fiddly, because every time I moved, either the cabinets were in the way, or the window was in the way, or it was just completely blocking my view, and it made it really, really hard. So yeah, it worked out fine in the end, but it was quite fiddly, and I decided that you probably didn't need to see me messing around with the shelf, trying to get it to do the exact same thing several times and just failing every single time. But I have moved on to the kitchen now. Oh, that's something I meant to say. You'll notice that that desk in the right hand side now is currently cluttered and full of stuff. When I was filming this, I accidentally pressed the Windows key, I think, and took myself out of game. And that ended the recording. If I exit the game, it cuts out the recording. I don't know if that's the same for everyone, but the recording software, I guess, that I use, which is the built-in one into my computer, if you exit out of the game, it cuts out, because it's in like the game station thing or something in the computer. And then as it cut out, I was like, I've got to remember to put the recording back on when I go back into my game. And then immediately forgot and did not put the recording back on. And luckily realised just after I decorated that desk and cluttered it up a little bit. So you didn't miss too much, but that is why that desk suddenly just appears with stuff on it. When I tested it, so I did play test the whole house at the end, that bit of that desk didn't actually work properly, so I did slightly move the clutter around just to make it so it actually does work. So that desk is functional, it does work, you can get to the computer, and all the clutter is still there. I've just moved it around slightly. So here I am in the kitchen. I think I'm mostly finished putting the clutter in the kitchen at this point. I didn't put that much clutter in. As I said, I wanted it to be fairly minimal, kind of lived in, but not kind of overly cluttered, because, you know, she doesn't have a lot of money, I imagine, the sim that's living here. So just kind of a few bits to make it a bit more lived in. And then I move on to the bathroom just after I pick this wallpaper here. So I figured I'd go for a splashback. It looks a bit weird, that kind of tile splashback being the whole way along, but it looked even weirder, it just being on a few wall pieces. So I kind of figured I'd go for the whole thing, just do all of it, and have that kind of splashback back there. I think it looks okay, it's just kind of slightly odd, I guess. And now just finishing off the bathroom as well, so I put a couple of pieces of clutter on that cabinet as well. I've only recently started doing the bathrooms like this, using the cabinets and putting the sink on it like that. I don't know why I haven't done it before, but I actually really like it. It looks quite nice, and it's also a lot more realistic as well, because in my own bathroom, in the ensuite upstairs, the sink in there is just a freestanding sink. And because the house is unfurnished, or was unfurnished when I got it, there's like no surface space in there at all, in the slightest. And in my house it's actually the same downstairs as well, but there is kind of this little shelf along the edge of the bathroom which you can kind of put some stuff on. It's really, really low, but you can put some stuff on there. Whereas in the bathroom upstairs there's literally nothing. It's like a freestand toilet, freestand sink and a shower cubicle, and that's it. So it is nice to have the other stuff going on in the bathroom. So as you can probably see, you're coming to the end of the video now, and there's lots of the house left to decorate, and that is because I decided to split it into two parts, just because it was already quite long, and I figured finishing off the downstairs is a good point to cut it, and then do part two as being the upstairs. So that will be coming soon. I'll be uploading that in a couple of days, so keep an eye out for that. Please do subscribe to see it when it goes up, and yeah, have a good day everyone. Bye.